Classy. Classy.
All right, Shalom to let the Israel, to the hopeful let the Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, foreign Israelites, like the other nations, scattered across the four corners of the earth. Want to give all praise to Barak, Rawchaa. Got to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Name of the Heavenly Father, everybody normally calls God. His true name in the ancient Hebrew, which is in the Rawchaa, Qadash. His true name is Yahawah. Bahasham means in the name of Yahawashi is the Holy One of Israel, everybody normally calls Jesus Christ, a so-called Negro from the tribe of Judah who was slain at the foundations of the earth for the salvation of the elect of Israel. Being got 2/3 of the wicked Israelites here in America, Babylon, the great, and the other wicked Israelites scattered across the four corners of the earth that will come back to the loins of the elect after the destruction. The Rawchaa Qadash, the Holy Spirit, has been bestowed upon the men. The Heavenly Father gave His only begotten Son out of the world to complete this work. So we always want to give double honors. Tells and apostles, great millstone, let us all to this truth. Been ordained by the Lord to teach the flock how to live, repent, pray, fast, so forth the Lord's righteousness and mercy, judgment, forgiveness and wrath, are part of the elect to the hopeful elect. Lord, when we put our number, Lord, wouldn't us be able to find us in fear in the name of the Lord, striving to show forth the Lord's righteousness every day to the best of their abilities. His judgment always comes to light, Zephaniah 3:5. It is not slack. 2 Peter 3:9 is unto a ring. 2 Ezra 5 verse 42. Shalom, I should believe us up there tuning in here on after Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham. Shabbat Shalom. We're going into basically the last cycle of the last new moon, coming into the new moon tomorrow, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. So we're kind of in the middle of a double Shabbat right now, and we're going to continue to work, and we're going to go into basically identifying false prophets, and some of them in particular that a lot of people know about. One of them is Gino, Jennings. And when you get into going into some of the things he talks about, he claims in one of his videos about 1 Corinthians 9:18 that he doesn't take offerings from his congregation. He doesn't take tithes from his church. because there's nothing really wrong with tithes. It's just it's about how you
tell your pastor.
Hold on, how you do it and who you giving it to.
Say go get a job and go to work.
Hold on. So the title is Gino Jennings says he doesn't make money from preaching. Chat GPT says he did. So, and it's going to break down to you and show you how he makes his money. And there's nothing wrong with receiving, giving, alms to the tabernacle. Okay, that's part of it. So we're going to go into that, and not a lot of people go into it and explain it in depth, like which ways to go around about doing stuff like that, because as believers, we're redeeming the time because the days are evil, but we are here as the elect to keep the ministry going, to show our gratitude for the elders and apostles, man. And what all these brothers, who sprang up to teach the word of Yahawashi Rawchaa across the earth, we're here to try to aid that, and you aid that in more ways than just teaching. You there's also a service part of we're servants, and so I want to go into that a little bit. So Lord willing, is edifying to the flock. Now I was mentioning a couple of lessons ago. I want to add something to this. James 2 verse 10, but it's a little bit on down. I think it's like verse 13 or 14, going into, kind of like our duties as men of the Lord. We're here to help facilitate also the ministry, and more than just, teaching the word. It's a lot to this stuff, but I'm going to go to it. I think it's verse 14, and I want to point something out. And I just want to kind of show some of the things that the way they teach these churches. They always try to make it seem like they're here for the people, but they're not. They're not giving you the warnings that you really need as a believer. Okay, so we're here to also cover that as well. So Lord willing, is edifying to the flock. This is James chapter 2 verse 14. What doeth it profit, my brethren? He's talking to the brotherhood. It said 1 Timothy, love the brotherhood. There's a brotherhood. So there's a lot of people who claim they love the Lord, and they say they read the Bible, but they don't have no idea about the brotherhood. That's a commandment, to love the brotherhood. And part of that love is, of course, correction, but it also comes with your servitude. We're servants. Let me say. All right, should be able to hear me better now. But we're servants, okay? Like we're supposed to, it's said as it is on earth is in heaven. So your works have to show your faith, through the blessing of helping the ministry continue. And we're going to show you ways on that as we go down. So it says, what doeth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he have faith and have not works? Can faith save him? Right? Verse 15, if a brother or sister be naked or destitute of daily food, right? And one of you say unto them, depart in peace, ye be warmed and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doeth it profit? So, there is a part of us that, we do meet sincere brothers like me. I was a sincere brother coming into the truth. I didn't have nothing, in the point where, not where I was just on the verge of dying, but I was in certain things that I needed, and the Lord sent a man of the Lord to help me. So, that's the kind of step we want to do, especially with new brothers coming in too. This is part of showing that we do have faith, that we are looking for these men, and we're also supporting, the growth of the ministry, the growth of brotherly love, and how you treat your brother is how you treat Yahawashi. So you don't want to just, when you see somebody really struggling, you do want to put yourself in a position to help some Israelites around you, You know, that's part of showing that we do love the Lord. Okay, so that's just, you know, kind of things to mention. Of course, you know, it's a limit to it, you know, but you know, when you see somebody actually sincere, you know, you don't just send them away in a sense of like, you know, don't really try to help them in some other ways. I think that's kind of why I did, you know, my necklace business and whatnot, because it kind of helps me have the opportunity to where maybe I don't got a lot of money, but you know, I could, you know, there's other little small things you can do for somebody to show that, you know, the Lord is, you know, giving us skills that we should be using to give Jake, you know, not saying that we just handing out stuff, but it gives Jake a sense of hope that there still is, you know, good in the earth, you know. But it varies, you know, who you're talking to and whatnot. And like I said, we're gonna go into it. So even so, faith, if faith hath not works, is dead being alone. So there has to be works also showing that we do care about the Lord's people, man. You know, but we don't do it to an extent of like trying to make it be like the IUIC and them, or they're like, oh, let's do community handout. No, no, because that's like basically us trying to establish ourselves in America. Like we're not supposed to be comfortable here. But there are small things that you can do to help somebody get on their feet, especially a brother. You know, it's mainly for brothers, you know. But, you know, let's say you do, Lord puts the spirit on you to help, you know, help a sister or whatever. You know, one of the few sincere sisters, they dealing with stuff, and you maybe got the means to you know, help them get on their feet or whatever. It's you know, it's for the believers, you know. But they also have to do that as well. It's a joint effort. So 18, yet a man say, thou hast faith and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. Right? And as you go in, thou believest that there is one power and doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. So we know that even people who act like they don't know the Lord, you know, they do. You saw Edom as well. So I want to point out, let me go to it. It's a specific scripture I had. Oh, wait, I already read it. Yeah. That's going in. I already went into that. It was like early up there in James. So we good with that. So we're going to get into the lesson of going into this guy, Gino Jennings, and kind of what he said, you know what I'm saying? And kind of how we know that this is a false prophet, man. Even though he's going around claiming other teachers are false as well. And we're going to show you what they're doing, what these people were set up to do, and why the Lord set them up. So let's go ahead and hear what he had to say.
You should not be paying your preacher. Well, Pastor Jennings, suppose we give him an anniversary. No false prophet deserve an anniversary. You're going to reward him for sending you to hell? Think of it. Order in the court. That's right. Think of it now. Listen to the old troublemaker. You going to give a false prophet appreciation service? You appreciate the fact he lied to you? You appreciate the fact he told you it was 3 gods? You appreciate the fact that he have homosexuals preaching in his church? You appreciate the fact that he's divorced and got a second wife and she's still your bishop? You're going to appreciate the fact that God never called him and never sent him, and yet he claimed God did? Only type of man that deserves honor is a man of God whom the Bible says worthy of double honor. So we labor for the souls of people.
Right? So he claims that, you know, as a pastor, as a teacher, it's like it's just a horrible thing to you know, to give to the church, but the church is a body. It's like a spiritual body. It's not like in a building, and they're teaching specific things. One thing is giving you a warning of what's coming. Okay, prophesying what the Lord said was going to happen to this place. Okay, but we're gonna go into what ChatGPT said about him, and then we're gonna go into some precepts. So he claims he doesn't make no money, You know what I'm saying? Sell it to the church. You know, he made no money concerning the church. I pulled up a whole bunch of questions, but I think they took it down because it took too long. So let me see. Yeah, I'll just ask him again. So, how much? First, this is what I started with. What is a 501? It's going slow. Hold on. C3. Oh, wait, there it goes. There goes all the stuff I asked. Okay, so we're going to start at the top. And we're going to see some of the things that he claims when it comes to you know, helping the ministry, what he thinks certain things are, and show you what we believe, you know, and know that they know what they are. Simple things. So we're going to start right here. It says 501c3 versus 508c1a churches. Okay, so there's two different types of churches. Okay, and how you know that these people are not giving them warning, because if they give particular warnings, then their church basically becomes, you know, they won't get their tax write-off anymore. So that's why they do certain things where they go out and claim to be for the people and whatnot, but really it's for their own gain. So it says 503(1)(c) churches must apply to the IRS for recognition, right? Subject to IRS oversight restrictions, no candidates, endorsements, limited lobbying, considered a state-recognized nonprofit corporation, seen by critics making the church a creature of the state since it agrees to certain restrictions on exchange for tax benefits, right? So, you know, we're going to show you why they fear this stuff, but we're going to show you why they use either one of them and see which one he has. So 508c1a churches, this is a section of the law that says churches are automatically tax exempt and do not have to apply for the 50c13. Churches are considered tax exempt by nature since the Constitution protects religious freedom. No formal IRS application needed, no charter to sign. Many pastors argues this keeps the church free from government control while still being tax exempt, right? Why some pastors avoid 50c13s? It's fear of censorship, government oversight, Bible convictions, and then like the alternative, which is like, you know, all this stuff. They do all these things to try to keep in a sense where they can still make their money from the government and claim to be, you know, to not have to pay taxes on all the money they're given. Okay, but you know, if they're going, basically the prophets, the pastors, the prophets are, our job is to prophesy against the government. Basically, we're coming against the kingdoms. So how are you going to be getting money from them? But you know what I'm saying? You still got your, it doesn't work like that. You have to, you know, you're going to pick one of the two. That's why I said the prophets, you know what I'm saying, they weren't, you know, they weren't recognized, okay, by the congregation to the people. Like they weren't recognized by, you know, the religious churches, okay? They weren't recognized. You know, even when Yahawashi was on the scene, our own people who were in the synagogues, Israelites, did not recognize Yahawashi. They didn't recognize him as the Messiah. Okay, most of them were more enemies than Esau. So that's how it is today. So going into it, so it says important note: many lawyers and professionals say 508c1a churches still can't endorse candidates under the Johnson Amendment, since the federal law, not just a 50c13, where pastors will go an accurate route that gives them more freedom and biblical independence. So they make them where they can't do certain things, or they can't vote on certain people, they can't, you know, whatever. But it's deeper than that. So going down a little bit, you know, because the church is recognized as a 503(1)(c), donations are generally tax deductible whatever, subject to IRS restrictions, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Such as the Johnson men, whatever. So in summary, his church is 5031C. So this is how we know he's not going to be able to talk about certain things. Okay. And you're supposed to talk about, you're supposed to be, if you're giving worthy of double honor, like he said, like it says in 1 Timothy, it talks about honor the elders. Then that means that you have to teach the whole truth. You know? And then, you know, if you're working and laboring for the people and giving Israel a warning, then that means that basically, you know what I'm saying, you can't really have a 50C13 because we're telling them that the government is about to come against us. Like it just doesn't, it's not going to work. And we're going to show you how he made his money. Most of it was what people give it to the church. He said, don't pay you pastor. Okay, well, how is your net worth $3 million in? That don't make sense. We're gonna start right here because this is what a lot of people don't understand that the churches are doing. Because if you're tithing to somebody, that means that you believe that those are the people of the Lord. Okay, because tithing isn't wicked. Like that was part of our, that was part of the. That was like just like the Lord has the first fruits, and he has his first fruits, which is the elect. That's why everybody in the kingdom, when we get into the kingdom, they're going to be giving tribute 10% of everything they own, because that's your first fruits. The best of your best goes to the Most High. That's separate. Holy means separate. Okay, so these are the ways of the Most High that a lot of people don't understand. You know, on a more brass, vast, topic in a sense. But these are good things to understand how, what it consists of. So the rise of false prophets, but there were also false prophets among the people. This is talking about between the congregation of Israel, Jakes, that were false prophets, claiming that other people was false prophets as well, but they were false prophets because of the things that they're teaching. It's not accurate and applicable, to a body of believers. All these churches that claim and they love Jesus, none of them teach all the same things. Not all of them are teaching the same thing. So there's no way that they could be a body. So, but were false prophets also among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who shall probably bring in damnable heresies, even denying the Lord that brought them, and bring upon themselves swift destruction. Because they didn't get no warning out. They didn't give the warning out of really what's going to happen to America, what's happening to the other nations. They're going into slavery. They're not breaking down these things. Okay, I'm gonna ask that ChatGPT too at the end of it, if I can remember, Lord willing, to ask what does he teach? What does he teach when it comes to Revelation 13:10? I'm curious because I asked him like a couple things what he teaches, and a lot of stuff he's not being specific on. Just like IUIC, all these people, they're not really breaking down and warning you of what you're finna deal with, okay, as an Israelite. So verse 2, and many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. So they always talk bad about Jake, the Hebrew Israelites, us out here on the highways and byways. They say we bumalites and whatnot. And we got some prominent brothers and elders that are like doctors and stuff. Like, what are y'all talking about? Like, we ain't no bums. Just because we don't got no money more than you and just don't got a big ass church, that don't mean we don't be out here working. Most of us had 2 jobs and shit. So whatever they talking about, we just live modest lives. They make it seem like that we broke because of that. No, the Lord, a lot of these people, they exalt in their name. They ain't giving no real credit to the Most High. Verse 3, and through covetousness, they shall with feigned words make merchandise to you. So all this time he pull up 1 Corinthians. We're going to read it too. 1 Corinthians 11:19. We're going to read a little bit before that to show you that that's not 1 Corinthians 11:19, but 1 Corinthians 19:18. We're going to read just a little bit before that and show what Paul was saying. You got to go through the whole thing so people can understand what's really being said. Because we just read in James that what good is it going to do if somebody really trying to come in the truth and you don't help them at all? On this side, they gonna be like, the fuck, like, I need help, you know. And of course, you know, the apostles always say, you know, we don't owe anybody, but it's just part of us. We're givers. We give more than we receive. That's what we cheerfully do. You know, we give back to the ones who we, you know, believe could be the elect. You know, and of course, you have to test them first. You have to test a friend. You got to see if they're really, worth you taking the risk to help them, because it says that it says present our bodies as a living sacrifice. There's a lot of times you're gonna take losses in the truth, you know, trying to do certain things. It's a trial and error thing. So you don't want to just like not, you know, you don't want to just neglect believers, because that could be somebody the Lord's really dealing with. You know, so you know, but like we said, there's limits to it. And they got to be showing forth their effort too, because they're supposed to be doing what we're doing, eventually getting on your feet to help another believer that maybe the Lord called on you to help. So they're making merchandise to the people because they're taking their offerings, then claiming they're not taking it, and then not teaching them the truth, like the warnings. So whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. So these kind of prophets, the Lord, right now, they're making money with Esau. But Esau is going to basically turn on them. Because if you got a 50C13, that means that you're making money in a sense of it's documented. You know what I'm saying? You know, for us, of course, we have a tithing system within the brotherhood, but that's just because, you know, that's what we signed up for, because we know that's what the Lord commanded us to do. Okay? That was part of the deal. You know, as prophets, we're supposed to keep the tabernacle ready, making sure, you know, we are putting forth something towards the table. But going on, Micah 3:5, thus saith the Lord Yahawashi concerning the prophets that make my people err and do bite with their teeth and cry peace, right? They're not giving you a real warning of what's coming. And he that putteth not into their mouths, they even prepare war against him. See? So Esau is preparing war against people like Gino, Jennings, and he thinks that he's going to be one of these people, you know, who get this you know, kind of recognition from Esau because he's signed in with his system. Okay? So 1 Corinthians 11:19, and they're set up like this for a reason, because the Lord wants to show who's really in order with the Most High. So 1 Corinthians 11:19, for there must also be heresies among you, that they which are approved may be made manifest unto you. So why are we saying that these people like Gino Jennings is not approved? Because they're not giving you the warning. And we're going to make a couple examples of that. So going down, I asked ChatGPT, has he ever spoke of World War III and what the mark of the beast is? It says, here's what I found according to Apostle Gino Jennings, and whether he has addressed World War III or the mark of the beast. So Gino Jennings has indeed preached on the mark of the beast, right? Multiple sermon recordings and video clips captured discussing the topic, right? Here's a couple of them. You know, he tried to say the mark of the beast is 666, right? Right? So the highest that he firmly addressed what the mark of the beast is biblically read and possibly numerology. World War III, he said, I couldn't find any clear, credible sources like sermon transcripts, video clips, or puzzle material showing that Gino Jennings has specifically spoken on World War III. And that's coming. It's in the Bible. It said Revelation 11:14, the second war is past, the third war coming quickly. There's a whole war that is going to be so bad, there's never going to be war again. Why would you not talk about this if people are giving you money every damn day they go in your church? Why would you not tell them about this? You know? It's in the Bible. Then it says, there is one sermon's transcript from Plain Truth, not affiliated with Jennings, that touches on America's military readiness and speculation about World War III. However, it does not appear to be connected to him, so he's never talked about it. So Mark of the Beast, it says that he talked about it. He said, yes, multiple video humorous sermons on topic. World War III, no confirmed instances. So conclusion, yes, Gino Jennings has publicly addressed the mark of the beast, right? Offers insight in his interpretation of prophetic scripture. I said, what does he say the mark of the beast is? And it says, this is present, right? There are multiple videos that he put it on there, you know. No, the mark of the beast is closer than what we think. It says, what's missing? No clear explanation on lines. Unfortunately, none of the YouTube, in which with the MOTB is the mark of the beast. That's the RFDI chip. The beast is talking about NATO and the EU. That's simple to say. You know, when you go into that word mark in the Greek, it means kataragma. It's an incision. So they're not teaching our people. They're not warning our people this stuff. And that's the whole point of being a prophet. You're supposed to warn Israel. So it says, unfortunately, none of the YouTube descriptions, titles, or accessible metadata provide details on what Jennings actually says the mark of the beast is. So what's the point of the video? You didn't even really say what it was. Why you think he's doing that? Because he got his 50C13, man. Okay, these same people he get paid from are the same ones that's going to implement the chip. Esau, even the so-called white man. There's no way that he's going to tell you what that is. And he knows what it is. He ain't stupid. He knows what it is. He's just not going to teach it because he's getting paid. So recommendation, what to watch directly, to know exactly how he defines the mark of the beast, whether he seems as a spiritual symbol, literal imprint, or future technology or something else. You need to view the sermons directly, right? But he's not going to say that. Then you ask him, I asked him, does he say what the beast is? He said, I wasn't able to locate any public statements or video timestamps where he interprets who or what the beast is, right? He ain't gonna tell you. He's not gonna tell you. So going down, I asked, he said, would you like me to locate a particular sermon that helps seem most promising, like what the beast represents and what it means? I said, yes. So he addressed it, but he never said what it was. Right? Then I asked, has he ever talked about Jacob's trouble? Right? And what's Jacob's trouble? Jacob's trouble is the mark of the beast being made mandatory, the implant, okay, the RFDI chip, okay, World War III, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff going down. So if you're going to be talking about Jacob's trouble, that stuff part of Jacob's trouble. Civil War, MOTB be mandatory, right? World War III, why he ain't never said nothing about it? You know what I'm saying? Because he's getting paid. You know, but he knows what's going to happen, man. Just it says. So I asked him, what he talk about Jacob's trouble? He said he addressed the concept of Jacob's trouble as mentioned in Jeremiah 37. In his teaching, he emphasizes that this period refers to a time of intense tribulation and distress for the people of Israel. He also discusses the topic, context, end time prophecies, and the challenges that believers may face in the last days. Okay, so you gonna tell everybody it's about Israel, but you ain't gonna tell who Israel is. You ain't gonna tell what the name's Lord is in Israel in the Hebrew language. You ain't gonna tell them that. But you're gonna talk about Jacob's trouble. But at the same time, he talking about Jacob's trouble. What he talk about? He talking about the rapture, and the rapture is talking about you ain't gonna even go through no tribulation. Your ass is gonna get beamed up, and you ain't gonna ever go through no tribulation. That's basically what it's saying. So it says Gino Jennings teaches about the rapture. He addresses the topic on several of his sermons. He said the rapture is a future event, past it, and there's nowhere in the Bible that says the rapture. So you already know this is a false prophet. He's making his money off this. So Pastor Jennings emphasizes the rapture as a forthcoming event that believers will be called up to meet the Lord. He stresses the importance of living a holy and obedient life to be prepared for the rapture, right? He discusses the relationship between the rapture and the second coming of, Yahawashi, but they say Jesus, highlighting significance of both events and Christian eschatology, I think how you say that. So the fact that you talking about the rapture, but then you saying you're gonna go through much tribulation, you confusing the flock, because there's no rapture in the Bible. Okay, there's a time where when we get caught up in the chariots before the destruction comes, but that's not the rapture. They be saying the rapture is like You getting out of here before everything goes down. So we're going to read a couple more scriptures, and then we're going to go into his net worth and show you that most of his money he made was teaching the word. He did a little bit, making a little bit of money in some other ways that we're going to mention, you know, and you're going to see this is why you don't want to go to these churches. So Ezekiel 33, verse 8. The watchman's duty. So if you're watching over the flock, you got people you teaching, this is what you have to do. Ezekiel 33:7. So thou, son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word of my mouth and warn them from me. See, it's a warning. It's a particular warning that we're giving you, that all the prophets have given Israel. Okay? That's what we're doing. So it says, when I say unto the wicked, O wicked man, thou shalt surely die if thou doest not speak to warn the wicked from his way. So it's a warning. Like we gotta teach, we gotta tell you that, hey, there's gonna be consequences if you don't repent, which means to what? Return. Like, so we're supposed to understand our heritage again. That's what we're doing. Okay. And we're warning you that you don't want to live like a Babylonian, one of these Americans. You don't want to be living this way when the Lord shows up, man, because you're going to get destroyed. That the wicked man will die in his iniquity, but his blood I will require at thine hand. So if we don't tell you what the true warning is, if we don't give you a full warning of what is Jacob's trouble, what World War III coming, what is the mark of the beast, if we're not giving you a full example of what that is and explaining it, you know, to the T, then we're not really giving you the warning. That's why a lot of people don't think that the truth is real. And that's why they always tell you to stay away from us. Because once you get to us, your brain works, you're going to see that we're very precise on prophecy and we all teach the same thing. And it's about destruction coming on America, Babylon the Great. None of them are teaching that, especially in the churches. So verse 9, nevertheless, if thou warn the wicked of his way to turn from it, and he do not turn from his way, he shall die in his iniquity, but thou hast delivered thy soul. So that's a main point of being a prophet. Okay. 1 Corinthians, and we go over this stuff all the time, but this is where the Spirit's got me today, going in a little bit in on, prophecy, a superior gift. Okay, prophecy is a superior gift. That's the title of the 14th Corinthians. Okay, we're going to go down to 8. It said, for if a trumpet give an uncertain sound, who shall prepare himself to the battle? See, so it's a certain sound that has to be given to you, a warning in death, and that's not being given out by these pastors, man. They talking about all this different stuff, and at the same time, they taking money from you, man. And and when it comes down to that day, they little $3 million, they gonna build them a little bunker, and you ain't gonna go in there. They ain't gonna put you in there. And best believe these preachers is building bunkers. Okay, they definitely got their own little bunkers and shit, just like Esau. So this is 1 Corinthians 9:18. This is what he tried to put out. So, and when you go into that word dispensation in the 17th verse, it goes into the Lord's economy. That's a pretty good breakdown. We're going to go into that. Verse 18, what is my reward then? Verily that when I preach the gospel, I may make the gospel of Hamashiach, talking about Yahawashi, without charge, that I abuse not my power in the gospel, right? For though I be free from all men, yet I have made myself servant to all, that I might gain the more. Okay? So he's basically saying, in this sense, he's using the scripture to say he doesn't make money in a sense of his preaching and whatnot. But we know when you read up earlier in it, when you read early into it, let's do it. Let's keep going into this real quick, and we'll go scroll up a little bit. Verse 21: To them that are without law, as without law, being not without law to the Most High, but under the law of a Mashiach, right? Us coming into Him, sacrificing Himself for us, that we might gain them that are without the law, which is going into, Israelites that were scattered. That's what it's talking about. That's why it talks about, going into, let's read 20, and into the Jews, I became as a Jew that I might gain the Jews, to them that are under the law as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. Then you had the Israelites that were scattered across the four corners of the earth. And Paul went, that's why he went to all of those different places, Galatia and whatnot, because Jake was scattered everywhere. And a lot of us are speaking Greek. Okay, so he came to teach us that the Lord was coming to sacrifice Himself to bring us into the fold, the ones that were scattered, just like today. Okay. That's the same thing that's happening. We're out doing the work of Paul and the prophets to bring these things back into the last time of us waking up in the truth. But it's not bad to get help in a carnal way. Okay, from your people, man. That's part of it. So we're gonna go up to verse 11. It says, if we have sown unto you spiritual things, is it a great thing if we shall reap your carnal things? Right? He ain't gonna go teach this in the church. He ain't gonna go explain this, because then he gonna, he won't be able to make himself look super righteous, just acting like he ain't taking no money from nobody. And he is. You know what I'm saying? That's why he's got his tax write-off. All his believers that's coming in the church, they ain't got no $3 million. He talking about helping people. Well, give more of your money to your people then. So we're gonna show you how he made his money in a second. We're gonna go ahead and go, and then we're gonna read down a little bit more. So just because you got people helping out the tabernacle, that's not bad. You reaping spiritual things from the brother here. You can't hook them up with something. Shoot, they're the reason why your ass ain't gonna get blown up, because we're telling you what's coming. Of course, through the spirit and power, Bahasham, Yahawashi. But right here it says, as of 2024, Pastor Gino Jennings estimated a net worth of approximately $3 million. His wealth been accumulated through multiple income streams beyond his pastoral role. How Pastor Gino Jennings earns his income: pastoral work and church operations. See? She said right there, oh, you shouldn't be paying your pastor. Well, how are you getting paid then? Esau's paying your ass. And your people is coming in tithing. See, Jennings is the founder, the overseer of the First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ, Incorporated. Headquartered in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the church operates in numerous branches across the United States and internationally. Revenue is generated through tithes, offerings, and donations from the congregation. That's the first way he make his money. What are you talking about? That's not how he make his money. We just heard a like, okay, well, they say you do this how you make your money. Here's the next one: media and book sales. We don't need to be selling no more books. All we need is the Bible. Okay, you don't make no Gino Jennings how to serve the Lord correct. Like, no, you don't need all that shit. The Lord wrote one book. That's the only one we need, with the Apocrypha. That's it. We don't need to make no damn more books. Okay. He gave us the book that's literally, you do everything it says in it, you become immortal. Why the fuck we need another book? We don't need to write another book. Okay, the only books that we pull out is and study is the ones pertaining to history to match up with this Bible to show you that it's real. That's it, man. We don't need to make no more Christian books and shit, right? So several religious books produce a significant amount of sermon content. These materials distributed via various media platforms, including television, broadcast, online channels, contributing to his income. Here's the other way: real estate investments. See, he's been involved in real estate for over 3 decades. He flips both commercial and regional properties, which adds to their financial portfolio. See, he has good ties with Esau Edom, man. Public speaking and media appearances. He even gets paid to come teach your ass. Okay, we don't get paid when we go out there and we do the work. You know, we're the ones who's paying the ministry. We're paying the apostles and all them to make sure that we're all, we're all keeping the shit running. We're not asking everybody else. Like when somebody comes in the tithe, it's off their own choice. And if the Spirit leads them to, they know why they're doing it and how to do it. It's different. Okay. So we're going to go into that, trying not to be long-winded, but I wanted to talk about this every now and then because it's not a topic that a lot of people like to talk about. But over here in GMS, we cry aloud, we spare not. We don't say things just off the fact that your feelings is go not feel some type of way about it. Like we're gonna talk about, whatever the Lord tells us to go into. So when you go into verse 12, going into verse 11, we'll read again. If we have sown unto you spiritual things, this is a great thing. We shall reap your carnal things. That doesn't mean that we don't work too. That doesn't mean like y'all just giving us shit and we ain't doing our own thing. Like all of us got jobs. That's a main thing in GMS. You got to have a job and shit. Okay. Like that's how we get down. So, but we just saying that it's not, you're going to show you how important it is to tithe to the ministry, man, especially GMS and the truth. So it's important. Okay. It's a part of, like, it's going to help you in that day of judgment. And we're going to show you. Verse 12, if others be partakers of this power over you, are not we rather? Nevertheless, we have not used his power, but suffer all things lest we should hinder the gospel of Mashiach. So what you do with us, using our gifts and our resources is what that's what shows us his power. That's what shows he has power. Because he doesn't have, the elect are the first fruits. They're the first people in the earth that created everything with the Most High. With the starting, talking about the men, so we're supposed to at least have a small grasp of, some of the things we maybe have done in that time. You take them, use them now. Some of those gifts the Lord will give you, and that'll help you, be useful to the people around you. Because, like I said, we give more than we receive. You want to be somebody like that at the end of the day, man. Because all this stuff is going to get blown up. Verse 13, do ye not know that they which minister about holy things live of the things of the temple, and they that wait at the altar are partakers with the altar? Even so hath the Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live of the gospel. Right? So you got to go into everything, But I have used none of these things, neither have I written these things that it should be done unto me. For it would be better for me to die than a man should make my glorying void. Okay, so he was mentioning that it's not like we're just like pressuring you to to give and whatnot, but we're showing you how the Lord's going to look to it. And we don't preach the truth, and try to push somebody to do those things, But it will bring. It will bring a favor in the Lord over you. That's what I'm showing, because that's what we came here to. We came here to gain favor of the Lord. Okay, so this is for like sincere believers, new people coming in and whatnot, because there's new people coming to this truth every day. And some people might feel like, damn, I'm not a preacher or a teacher. What can I do? Well, these are things that you can do to show the Lord that you do believe in his men. Okay, because we are servants. We're all servants. Okay. So 1 Corinthians 7:21, if thou art called being a servant, care not for it. But if thou beest made free, use it rather. Right? We're going to go to the NLT and break it down. Verse 22, for he that is called in the Lord being a servant is the Lord's freeman. Likewise, also that is called being free is Hamashiach's servant. So what did Hamashiach tell Simon Peter? What did Yahawashi tell Simon Peter? Feed my sheep. But we just seen in James, it said, oh, you're going to feed the sheep, but you ain't going to hook them up with them if you see them struggling like that. And we're talking about like, particular believers that you'll see in your area, but you gotta really be careful with it too, because a lot of people are out to make merchandise of the prophets and to take us for granted as well. So it's gotta be people who are willing to help build the camp. Okay. And that's on all fronts. You know, not just the men. You know, the that's why I talked about when Isaiah 4 will come. Women said, "We'll take care of our own stuff. Just let us be called by our name." They saying basically, we'll figure out how to take care of ourselves, but we want to make sure that we give it forth to the Lord's tabernacle, because that's what this is. Whatever you tithe to, that's what you believe the Lord really set up, man. And there's a way that we do it, but there's, you know, we're gonna go into it in a second. So ye are bought with a price, be ye not servants of men, right? Brethren, let every man wherein is called therein abide with the Most High. So every brother's not going to do what other brothers do. Some brothers will do something a little bit more than others. Some brothers do a little bit less. But you allow the Lord to work through that person and do those things. And, you know, as long as they are sending out the warning to Israel, then, okay, we're walking together. But you have to be sending the full warning. Can't be not mentioning things like reincarnation and going into certain controversial topics that a lot of people are uncomfortable with. You have to go into those things too. So, you know, you can show that you're approved, okay, by the Most High. You know, we do that to show the Most High that we believe what he's done and his law is righteous. Doesn't mean we can follow everything right now because we're in our captivity, but, you know, this is things that's, you know, we want to know the Most High and how he works. So going back to 1 Corinthians 7:21, and we're going to read it in the NLT. It says, are you a slave? And yeah, we are. We are slaves. It says, don't let that worry you. But if you get a chance to be free, take it. What's the only way you can be free? If you were so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American, and you were bound in slavery by these Edomites all this time, what's the only way you can be free? Your mind. Your mind has to be free from the ideology of their methods, okay? And then once you do that, you know, you can start to position yourself to where you can make sort of moves carnally wise to put you in a better state, because the Lord's going to have favor on you, you know, for the things that you do, okay? So, you know, for the church, because he is going to bless. He's going to show you he will bless you, but it has to be to the right. It has to be for the right reasons too. You can't just be doing it and being like, "Oh, I'm doing it to get respect." Like, you know, it's supposed to be because we owe the Lord. He bought us. Okay, we're supposed to be paying an oath. Okay, we're supposed to be paying back our dues to the tabernacle. So if you get a chance to be free, take it, and remember, if you were a slave when the Lord called you, you are now free in the Lord. And if you were free when the Lord called you, you are now a slave of Hamashiach. See? So it's basically saying either way, you're called for a service. God, it says the Most High paid a high price for you. So don't be enslaved by the world. See? So we're supposed to be what? Taking care of the tabernacle. He paid a high price for us, his life. Which means that we're supposed to be what? Completing our service, which is taking care of the flock, man. You know, and mainly it's for brothers. But like I said, if it's a sister too, you see that maybe struggling, you get yourself up enough, and you see that sister struggling or whatever, and she's been diligent and trying to do right, but try to help her a little bit and see what happens. The Lord might be one of the hopeful lake women and stuff. That is of the elect. So, you know, it's all off of discretion, though. You have to be careful with it. You got to really be in the spirit to know who you're giving to. So, you know, like I said at the bottom, it said, "Ye are bought with a price. Be ye not servants of men." We ain't serving the world. We ain't got 501c13s. We ain't doing this in a sense to make money and not give you a warning. We making our own money. He talking about go get a job. He don't do nothing but preach and show up and get paid for it. We don't get paid to go do no lessons. Okay, all that's coming on the back end. You know. So giving tithes for your salvation and buying the truth are two different things, man. There's nothing wrong with tithing to the church. Okay, which is really talking about the brotherhood and the ministry, man. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what we basically, you know, I'm going over. So I don't go over it a lot on my channel. Verse 25, "For I know this, that after my departing shall grievous rules enter in among you, not sparing the flock. That's Acts chapter 20, verse 29. And that's, these people like Gino, Jennings and these people, because they won't really break down to you really what is happening in the earth, and in the videos that they do speak of the mark of the beast and whatnot. They don't really tell you what it is. It's not really certain what they say, and they don't do a lot of videos on it. Okay. They kind of do it just to be like, oh, we talked about it. That's it. You just go watch that video. But, these are things we're supposed to be constantly warning Israel about. Okay. Because there's always new people coming into the truth. So it's always something we always talk about. Mark of the Beast, World War III, MOTB, we're going into history, stuff like that. Those things that you want to continually mention, to get Jake to get an understanding of how close we are to the end. So, verse 30, also of your own selves shall men arise, speaking perverse things to draw away disciples after them. And there's a lot of people who came into the truth and instead of following in the stead of the apostles and the elders and getting in order, they wanted to be like, oh, no, now I know the truth. So now I'm going to go get me a couple little camp. I'm going to just do my own order. And there's people like that too, even within the Church of Israel. So, you got to be you got to be spiritual to be able to know who is approved. And how do you know who's approved? Who's giving you the full warning and they're in order. Because it says give double honor. So whoever you're giving double honors to, you got to show that, that ranking. There's ranking in this thing. You can't just come in, just set up your own camp and do whatever you want to do. It's got to be decently done in order. So, and we're going to show you right here that you have to teach the 100% truth. It has to be, the whole prophecy has to be accurate. Okay. You can't be talking about the rapture and Jacob's trouble at the same time. That's no, man. No, they contradict each other, and the rapture is not in the Bible. So that's what it should be saying when we talk about the rapture. It's not in there. And they have like 3 different types of raptures, and all of them are just bullshit. How you gonna have 3 different types of raptures? Like, we just believe it's gonna happen this time. We're gonna what the fuck? Y'all crazy. Y'all ain't all on one accord. These people saying they all believe in Jesus. It's supposed to be the body of Jesus, right? Well, why y'all? Some of y'all denominational, some of y'all not denominational, some of y'all First Baptist, some of you, Protestant. Like, no, that's not no. That's going off. Galatians chapter 5, verse 7. Ye did run well. Who did hinder you that ye should not obey the truth? Right? This persuasion cometh not of him that calleth you. Right? Talking about these people who, they didn't obey the truth whenever it was told to them. He told Ezekiel, he said, hey, I'm going to tell you to warn the wicked, and he tried to say in Jacob's trouble, yeah, y'all got to get ready. You got to live holy as much as possible and whatnot. Okay, well, at the same time, then why are you doing Christmas? Why are you celebrating birthdays? Why are you doing that kind of stuff? And like we said, he ain't teaching about World War III, never mentions it. Like, that should be something on a daily basis. We should be talking about what these nations are doing. Like, they're talking about shooting missiles over here. You ain't gonna talk about none of that. That's kind of something you want to tell your people. Like, if you were over them, hey, yeah, they're gonna shoot missiles over here. Here it is in Ezekiel 38. Like, that's what you're supposed to be teaching your congregation. Okay, you have to really teach them what's coming. Okay, or you're not sparing the flock. You're not really giving them no chance to prepare for the battle, right? Giving them an uncertain sound. So they're just out here just living like Babylonians, not knowing what the hell is going to happen here. So it says a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. So if one part of your doctrine is off, then the whole thing is off. The whole thing. It has to be all the way on point, man. The Lord's real serious about his doctrine. So I want to go to another scripture, to kind of back up that, there are ways that you don't want to make the Lord's house a house of merchandise, but that doesn't mean that that doesn't have anything to do with tithing to the Lord, because the Lord, he said what? His pasture is a flock of men. So that's why, us as believers, we believe that the prophets are back these days, and GMS are the ones who rule well, and they teach those men to grow and to become men of the Lord. So we really believe this is the counsel the Lord sent. So that's why we tithe to him, not because it's just like we just scared if we don't, the Lord gonna get us or something. No, we do that because we really believe this is our duty. This is where he bought us. This is why he born us in the world, to help this facilitate, man. Proverbs 23, verse 23, buy the truth and sell it not, also wisdom, instruction, and understanding. So that's why when you see us come out and do the work, we don't be like, oh, well, here's my cash app and we don't do all that. We don't need all that. We just tell you, hey, there's a if you want to start tithing to apostles, if you believe the apostles are true, we got one place, you send it over there to this cash app, and they go to the apostles in there. And then they use it to do what? Help believers out, man. And they're not going to always publicize that. Be like, oh, we help this sister, help this brother. They just do it. Okay? And a lot of the sisters that they help are usually what? Probably with a man of the Lord, a brother in the truth or something. So that's how you get help through doing your service. Because the Lord bought a lot of you women with a price too, and that's to what? Aid the brotherhood. And a lot of women are not doing that. A lot of women just sitting on their hands and not really giving themselves over to, to try to be of help. And, you got some of them that are, being patient and just, maybe they tithing or whatever. So ain't nothing wrong with that. But you don't want to be somebody who the Lord gave you the chance to possibly run into one of these men and then come Jacob's trouble. That's why I said a lot of the harlots and a lot of the harlots and the publicans, these ones that, really know isn't necessarily in the truth. They got saved more than most people that were believers and did know, because they didn't do nothing. They didn't do nothing with the faith that they were given. There's something you got to do to show. Faith without works is dead, and there ain't no respecter of persons. That means everybody. That ain't just talking about us. That's talking about you women out there too. Okay? You're going to have to put some time into this thing, and it ain't going to be like you seeing some big reward order on it saying, no, we're bought to do, this is our job. Okay? You can't be taking it personal like, oh, I was going to get treated right. No, like, this is how you're not going to get blown up and become immortal. Like, that's what you're going to get paid. But you got to be with one of us. Lord willing, we, one of the men. But anyways, Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 is what I want to get to. And when you go to verse 6, it says the Lord doesn't change. Okay? He doesn't change. We'll start right there. Malachi 3, verse 6, for I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So even in this time, the Lord still works this way, but he has been more lenient over time because of what we're dealing with, man, our slavery. And we're going to go into that. And then, we're going to close out after that. We got just a couple more scriptures. Then we're going to go close out. So it says, even the days of your fathers are ye gone away from mine ordinances and not kept them. Return unto me, and I'll return unto you, right? Having that understanding of the knowledge of the Most High, the prophecies, the warnings. These are things that, we do as men, to edify the flock, to keep them in a constant reminder of what is to come. It's to keep them, in a sense of, less captivated into the world, because a lot of people here are service men. Even, a lot of the women that, they're trying to get super rich and work all these long nights and be, super rich. That's really servicing men, because you're servicing Esau's kingdom. We ain't trying to just be super rich here because that benefits him. We're trying to see this place fall. Doesn't mean that we don't work and stuff, but we ain't out here just trying to be just damn the CEO of like fucking 100 damn warehouses somewhere or something. Like, that's helping him. So, and have not kept him, return unto me, and I return unto you, said the Lord of the hosts. But he said, wherein shall we return? But he did. He set up a brotherhood, and that's where you're supposed to return. To return to that sheepfold, And in a sense, we're all sheep. Okay? You got leaders of the sheep, you know, the vineyard workers, you know, but we're basically sheep too. He said the pasture of his flock are men. We're like the Lord's sheep, and he's guiding us, you know, to guide the flock. Okay. So you have robbed the Most High. Malachi 3 verse 8, will a man rob Yahawah? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings, right? And this is going into believers. Like, this is something that you want to consider. Like, if you claim that you're a believer, this is what he's telling us to do. You are cursed with the curse, right? We're under the curses. So still right now, this is still applicable to you being a believer. This is what you got to know. You have robbed me, even this whole nation, right? By doing what? Not giving to the tabernacle. What'd he say? He didn't say bring you just watching videos to the storehouse. Bring ye all the tithes to the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, right? It's physical. Said, bring this shit over here and prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven. What's the window of heaven? Rulership. Okay. It's not just talking about just physical means. He's talking about giving us spiritual understanding. Okay. And order to like know who the brothers are, who the elders are, like what the word warning. Okay. It's more than just physical. He's saying do that. Because it said that's why Paul said, oh, you're gonna, if we give you spiritual things, what's the bad thing for you us to reap your carnal things? Because this is the ways of Israel. This is how we always gave to the Levites, man. That's returning to the days of old. That's repenting. Stop being servants of men and serve the damn tabernacle. That's what he's saying. Okay. Saith the Lord of hosts, saying the Lord of hosts, I will not, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing, that there shall not be enough room to receive it. And that's true. And I've been able to be a witness to that in my own life. Okay. I was not doing too good a couple of years ago. And you know, I'm not just super rich, but the progress that I've seen what the Lord has done for me and Zaquan and the people around me in the time that has happened through our, you know, through constantly teaching the word, going to work, teaching the word, being patient, staying and you know, being humble in the lower state. The Lord makes increases, man. And he makes them known, you know, on both sides. You're gonna gain more knowledge in the truth, and your life is gonna become more stable. If you're sincere, you know, you have to be really sincere about you really wanting to do that for the Lord. It can't just because you broke and you want to get a little bit of money for the Lord. It's got to be like you really wanted to bless the tabernacle and give to him. But there's ways about that. So, you know, but we're seeing that, you know, in doing that, the Lord said, prove it. He basically said, prove it. He said, I bet you if you did that, let's see if you do it. Let's see if you do it. I don't do nothing. We're gonna see. Oh, he's gonna do something about it. It might not be a blessing that you're expecting the way that you're expecting it, you know. But over time, you're gonna see it, man. You're gonna see it if you continue in that stead of faithfulness. But if your heart's not really in it, you're not really sincere, and you're just trying to do it so you can get yourself together and not really think about the body as a whole, then you don't see nothing happen. That's what I'm saying. You got to really put your all into this. It says, seek the kingdom of heaven, seek that order, seek to put yourself somewhere in that order to where you're helping them. And that's all of us. He said he bought all of us. You know, like we said, there's some men that are more prominent or better off or whatever to help the tabernacle more or whatever. But you just, he said, whatever your limit is, that's what you go with. And the Lord's going to accept that. We're going to point that out in a second. Tobit chapter 4, verse 7, this is in the Apocrypha. Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thine eye be envious, neither turn thy face from any poor, and the face of the Most High shall not be turned away from thee. See? So it is a big deal to give your tithes to the brotherhood, man. It is. You know? But you got to do that on your own discretion and whatever the Spirit of the Lord, you know, it's not really something that we really give out to, you know, it's not really a lesson for like to be like, you know, new believers. You don't want to just take this and just run with this right out the way. Be convinced in your own mind first. You know, take some time to really learn the doctrine. Take some time to really have your mind transformed. Okay, and all these things in the earth, you know, that's taken away that our understanding. You know, allow yourself to grow. So when you do it, you do it wholeheartedly. You're not just doing it because you're told. You know, it's got to be really from your spirit, from your heart, which is your mind. It's got to be really like, I want to do this, man. You know, because I believe the Lord is going to bless me, you know, so I can bless others. You know, we are givers more than receivers. This is a selfless ministry, man. You know, even though we do got to take care of ourselves, but everything that we do for ourselves is to better the ministry, man. So we can be better representations of the Most High on how much we love His people, man. Because Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi loves Israel. And really, he only loves the elect. You know, we have to have that same mind. Verse 8, if thou hast abundance, give alms accordingly. So you got a bunch of money, give more money, right? If thou have but a little, be not afraid to give according to that little. So you don't want to just, you know, when we saying give, we ain't just saying like just go in there and just you got to pay 10% every time. You know, if you got a little, like, I'll just get a little bit less, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. Because you got bills coming up, maybe you got kids, whatever, you know. But, you know, the Lord's still going to accept that. Verse 9, for thou layest up a good treasure for thyself against the day of necessity. So you giving alms to the ministry, giving alms to brotherhood in the right way. You know, we got, you know, certain places we send all of it to make sure there is a meat in the storehouse. You know, that's laying up treasure for yourself. It says, lay up treasure for thyself against the day of necessity, which is Jacob's trouble. The Lord's gonna remember your help to the ministry. You know, and you know, I feel like I'm just going into it too because you know a lot of people that have time, they never really get that understanding of what it's really doing for you, if it's really helping you or not. You know, and we don't normally, you know, send out like a hey, the water for all the you know, the tithes and whatnot. And sometimes apostles do every now and then, you know, but you know, this is really our reasonable service, man. You know, but it does comfort them to see that there are a lot of us young and older believers coming in together and we're working as Israel, because that's what the Lord promised them if they did the work, man. You know, so it's a blessing to be able to be a comfort to them too. Okay, because they didn't really get a lot of comfort coming into the truth like we did, because we're able to see the growth. They didn't get to see that. They had to stand out there for 10 years and no fruit was out there, man. You had to be a strong man and do that. Tobit chapter 12, verse 8. Prayer is good with fasting and alms and righteousness. A little with righteousness is better than much which up with unrighteousness. It is better to give alms than to lay up gold, right? So, you know, of course, brothers, we encourage, save a little bit of money in case something happens, but we don't want to just have a whole lot of money, That's why I even like with my business, if it gets well enough, if I go out and make a lot of money or whatever sometime or whatever, most of that is supposed to go to the tabernacle, man. Because the Lord's not doing that just for me to, lay it up and just not help nobody with it. That's to help. There are other people in the brotherhood, man. And it gives them the chance to, maybe they got somebody they know that's a sister that believes in their area or something, or just a believer that maybe they're not together or whatever. And then he like, here, I'll help you a little bit. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, man. We're supposed to be helping each other and shit. Okay? Like that's what the Lord said. It's better to give than to receive. That's part of your walk. And I see the apostles and elders all the time. It be people that ain't even believers sometimes come up to the camp like, hey man, can I get $5, man? You be all right, sure. Just give it to them, whatever, man. That's what we do. But they're careful with it too, where it's like if that dude just don't look like he's trying to get himself together, eventually he'll be like, nah, I gave you $5 last week, man. What you been doing with your life? You ain't even listened to the lesson. Not saying that we trying to pay people to listen, but it's like we trying to keep ourselves unspotted from the world and from sinners, and we not trying to give nobody the license to sin. We looking for believers to help, man. It said help, not a sinner. So Tobit chapter 12, verse 9, It says, for alms doeth deliver from death, and shall purge away all sin. And there's different types of alms. This is a form of alms, doing the work every day. You know, so sending up prayers to the brother. That's another alms. That's different alms. Sending up prayers for the elect. Those that exercise alms and righteousness shall be filled with life. So he, this dude, Gino Jennings, try to make it seem like he just super righteous for saying that, oh, I don't take no money from y'all. There ain't nothing wrong with that if you telling the truth. But you ain't telling the truth. You using it for merchandise. You over there saying all these sermons and books and all this shit you got $3 million off of, and your people still out there probably don't got much. Okay? It said when you increase, your servants are supposed to increase. Your flock's supposed to increase. You don't just be the richest motherfucker over there and then everybody else is broke as hell. That's confusion, man. Then it's basically saying you don't care about them. That's what James was talking about. Okay, you're supposed to be making people good if you good around you. I'm talking about believers really going into the brotherhood. Tobit chapter 12, verse 10, but they that sin are enemies to their own life. Simple stuff. We got a couple more. Sirach 14:11, which is the book of Ecclesiasticus. And it reads, my son, according of thy ability, do good to thyself and give the Lord his due offering. And usually it's 10%. But he said, what he say? He said, if you can't do it, to that extent, give what you can. Verse 12, remember that death will not be long in coming, and that the covenant of the grave is not showed unto thee. So we know that time is coming, man, that Jacob's trouble is coming. So we want to have this kind of mindset to be, more about helping others than ourselves after we help ourselves, man. You got to help yourself too. Verse 13, do good unto thy friend before thou die, and according to thy ability, stretch out thy hand and give to him. See? According to thy ability. Don't just over give and stuff, because then you're going to screw yourself over. But, you want to be someone who gives cheerfully. 2 Corinthians 9, verse 8. That's why we say before you start doing this kind of stuff, really be convinced in your own mind that you believe this is the tabernacle of the Lord, and that this is what you want to. This is where you want to put your faith in. And like I said, faith without works is dead. 2 Corinthians 9, verse 6. But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly. So don't be doing like little, really not trying to get yourself together to be able to give to the tabernacle, and then you just giving little by little and be really not really giving and being more of a liability. Eventually, you're gonna get to the point where you're gonna be hoping to get something sown great, and you ain't gonna get nothing great because you didn't sow great. So it is about continually growing to try to be more of use to the ministry. And he which soweth bountifully shall also reap also bountifully. This is simple. The more you do, the more you get. This is plain. Verse 7, every man according to as he purposes in his heart, which talking about his mind. So let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for the Most High love a cheerful giver. See? So we're not doing it where it's like, oh man, if I don't tie to the apostles, the Lord gonna blow me up. No, we do it because we really do love the brotherhood, and we're grateful that they're here, man. We're thankful that they did this for us. Okay? So that's why I wanted to mention it, because that's what the churches got their people thinking, like, oh, we don't tie to the church every Sunday. The Lord ain't gonna hook us up. Because that's what they be like. Oh, look, watch when you tie to the church. Watch what the Lord do for you and whatnot. But then don't even teach you that the Lord's finna take everything in this bitch in Jacob's trouble, and you ain't gonna have nothing but faith. He ain't gonna tell you that. He ain't gonna tell you America gonna get blown up. So just going back to this is why this is a little bit of edification going into why in the kingdom everybody will give their 10% to the as you know, as tributaries to Israel. So Leviticus 27:30, and all the tithe in the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the tree, is the Lord's. It is holy unto the Lord. You know, and it's the 10th, man. And if a man shall redeem, right? Let me go back. I gotta go back one. I think it's in 29. No, that's right. Yeah, you know, because it was saying, hold up. Oh yeah. It's basically connecting with Proverbs 3 verse 9. This is what it's really saying. You know, that belongs to the Lord. That's why I said we rob the Lord, because a lot of people have not been tithing to His tabernacle. A lot of people when you come to the brotherhood, like you've been just living and just spending money on tithing to Esau Edom shit, churches and stuff. Okay, so in a sense, like you've been robbing the Most High of His first fruits. Okay, His what belongs to Him, every tenth of what we got. But like I said, give according to what you got, man. Doesn't have to be 10, but you know, if you can do it, you're supposed to give accordingly. It's Proverbs 3 verse 9. Honor the Lord with thy substance and with the first fruits of all thine increase. Everything that you get, every $10 you make, Most High said, I want $1. That's how it is. But like I said, you want to do it to where you're giving cheerfully and not feeling like if you don't do it, because we're not under the law no more, but we're trying to follow it to the best of our abilities. Okay? We want to be a help to the apostles, man. They're the reason why we're not fucking retarded out here. Verse 10, so shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy precious shall burst out with new wine. But we're nowhere in our captivity, so we're not going to really be getting that kind of provision. But that's how it was back then. You know, Israel had a commonwealth to where everything that we did went to the Levites. And if we did it right, things went very well. Okay, so that's where you get a lot of that, just a lot of that understanding of tithing and whatnot, and why they try to do it in the churches. But, you know, they don't really give you a full gist of what you're doing and why we're doing it. You know, it's going to also be another mechanism for the Lord to forgive you in that day. You know, and it's not the only one, but it doesn't mean it's not important. So Lord willing, set a fine to the flock. Shalom to elect Israel, hopefully elect Israel, Hebrew Israelites, so-called Negro, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians, foreigners, selected the nations, scattered across 4 corners of the earth. When we give our President Barak, Barak, Yahawashi. Double honor to elders and apostle, great millstone, let us all to this truth. Peace and blessings to the elect. Wa Abba Babal, Kwam Yasharala. Shalom.